why due diligence in a contract matters. Hey guys, it's Brad from GeorgiaProbateResource.com. We're a real estate solutions company in Metro Atlanta. We buy houses all over the state of Georgia, and we specialize in the world of probate and inheritance properties. So today I want to talk about due diligence period in contracts and why that matters, especially, not only from investor offers, but if you're getting an offer, maybe you put the house on the market, you decided to list it, and you're getting offers from potential buyers, the amount of due diligence matters. If you don't know what due diligence, many people know what it means, but for those of you who don't, it's sort of like the inspection period of a property that you go under contract, and then it allows that potential buyer a certain amount of time to do inspections, to look over whatever they want, and they have that sort of time as like a grace period to be able to either renegotiate the contract or terminate the contract without penalty, and they can get their earnest money back. If someone, typically in most contracts, if they renegotiate you after the due diligence period, or they back out of the contract after the due diligence period, you as the seller, you're typically, depending on how the contract is worded, in most cases, your legal remedy is you get to keep that earnest money deposit that they put down if they decide to back out after the due diligence period is over. They call that, we call that the money going hard at that point. Basically, once that contract, once that due diligence period over, that earnest money goes hard, and if you were to back out, then the seller gets your earnest money deposit as a legal remedy to you backing out. Now, there are, depending on the way the contract is worded, sometimes there are other legal actions you can take, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. Okay, so the other reason why I want to bring this back is because there are some investors out here in our industry that will ask you to do like ridiculously long due diligence periods in their contracts. And what I mean by that is I saw one recently where the investor, first of all, the longest due diligence I've ever seen on a single family house, I think was 90 days. 90 days that this investor asked this seller to give them due diligence, and they'd scheduled a closing in like 4 months. It's like, get out of here. Why are you scheduling a closing so far out, not at the seller's request? This was at the investor's request. That's kind of crazy. That investor's not serious, not real. They're not actually going to close on your property. If they're asking you for that long to close, that's ridiculous. Okay, so let's talk about, typically speaking, like in our contracts, we have a 10-day due diligence period. That's sort of my standard time. I'll do less due diligence if a seller asks me to. I'll even do zero due diligence if I can get out and actually see the house, walk through it, just understand the condition of it, and I'll do zero due diligence if I'm comfortable enough with the deal. I've seen investors do 30 days of due diligence, 60 days, 45 days of due diligence. To me, it's crazy to do that long a due diligence. All those guys are doing in most cases that have that long a due diligence period is they're basically wholesaling your property, which there's nothing wrong with wholesaling. It's totally legal. We wholesale some properties. We flip some properties. We keep them as rentals. We do kind of all different things. Wholesaling is just sort of one tool in the shed. But we always close on your property. If we say we're buying your property, you're going to see our name on the closing statement. We're going to close on the property. We're going to do as agreed exactly what we said we would do. Now, there's other companies out there that if they can't find a buyer to wholesale the property to, they just back out of the contract. And the reason they do long due diligence period is they're giving themselves a long runway to go find a potential buyer for the property to sort of take their place in the contract. And then they'll make a small fee on that. And then as long as they find a buyer during the due diligence period and they assign it out, they're good to go. If they can't find a buyer, then they're just going to terminate the contract on you and walk away, and they don't lose any time. And you just lost weeks of your time, right? You just wasted your time with some investor. And believe me, we see it all the time. It's happening, especially now that the market's shifted. Here in the market kind of shifted in July of 2022. We're seeing a lot of investors backing out of contracts and bailing out. A lot of these new guys that didn't really know what they were doing were sort of riding the wave before, and they could sell anything to anybody and didn't really matter, and the hot market forgave their sins. But now all of a sudden the market's tightened up, and the only investors left buying are the guys that actually know what they're doing and know how to run their numbers and know what they're doing and run a tight ship like we do. And we're like, yeah, I'm not buying that property from you for that price that you're asking because it doesn't make any sense. I would lose money. Why would I buy that property from you and lose money? I'm not in the business of losing money. So these guys all of a sudden are backing out of contracts, leaving sellers hanging high and dry. I've got a sad story. I got a call from a guy the other night. Gentleman, his property was in tax. It had been sold at a tax sale. He had a redemption amount where he could redeem it back and get his property back from this investor who bought it, because in Georgia you do have a right to redemption. Well, anyways, he had reached out about a month and a half prior to this end of his redemption period, and this investor had agreed to buy his house and basically strung him along. And then all of a sudden he calls us the other night. He's 2 days before the end of his time's up, the clock ran out, and he calls us and he's like, can you buy my house? And I'm like, okay, maybe, let me get some more information. He's like, hold on a second, let me call somebody. I got another call coming in. And he's like, oh, I just got a call from another investor. They're going to help me out, da-da-da-da. Well, then that one guy that was helping him for a month and a half bailed out on him. And then now he's got this other guy who called while we were on the phone with them, and then they strung him along to the next day. So then the following day, literally clock runs out at 11:59 p.m. that night. He calls us at 4:30 in the afternoon, calls us back and says, the other guy just let me down. This other guy let me down. Like, everybody's let me down. Can you buy my house? And I was like, sir, I'm sorry to tell you, like, there's not enough time. I can't help you. I wish I could, but the clock runs out at 11:59 tonight. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Wire transfer cutoffs are like in 30 minutes, and I don't even have a title search on this property. I don't even know what I'm buying. I haven't even had a chance to like actually see whether this house makes any sense or what's wrong with it. I don't have time to go actually see the house. I'm sorry, I can't help you, sir. Like, I just can't. But there were other guys that strung him along and led him along, and I feel so bad for this guy, but unfortunately there's people that do that in this industry, and it's sad. So anyways, I know this video is running long, but due diligence actually matters, so make sure you're paying attention to the due diligence period in your contract. And if you have any questions about that, we'd be happy to answer questions for you. So again, I'm Brad with GeorgiaProbateResource.com. We're a real estate solutions company in Metro Atlanta. We buy houses all over the state of Georgia, and we specialize in the world of probate and inheritance properties. So if you have a house that you need to sell, you're in probate, you've inherited this property, whether it needs a lot of work, it doesn't need a lot of work, it's full of junk, doesn't have any junk in it, whatever, we'd love to buy it from you as is, fast closing, we'll buy it for cash. Or if you want to go the traditional route, you got a pretty nice place, you want to list it on the market, get top dollar for it, squeeze every last penny, I would encourage you to list it in that case, and in which case I'd be happy to talk to you about listing the property. I am a licensed agent with OneSource in Woodstock, so we can talk to you about maybe what that would look like if you wanted to list the property. So thanks again for checking out this video. Again, I'm Brad with Georgia Probate Resource. I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.